Well, there's a lot to talk about for Ukraine. So first and foremost, we're going to be rolling out all sorts of new announcements on those F-16s are going to be operational this summer, new air defense for Ukraine so that they can defend against these indiscriminate attacks against civilians like the one we just saw in the Children's Hospital. But the NATO alliance is also building a new command just for Ukraine. This has never happened before, to help them modernize their forces and focus on things like interoperability, standardization, and the like. But we're also going to put a NATO senior rep in Kyiv to help them modernize their forces and build that future force. So the full package is, in essence, bringing Ukraine closer to the alliance. It's not membership yet, they're on that path, but the series of steps we're rolling out this week are really putting them on the right course.
Ambassador, it is a full package, but it's a package perhaps with red lines. There were previously red lines on tanks, previously red lines on F-16s. There are still red lines on some of the use of munitions, US offensive munitions and others as well. Red lines on NATO boots on the ground as well, that Monsieur Macron, of course, mentioned in the spring as well. Are we fighting this battle against an aggressor with one hand tied behind our back?
No, we sit down every month, we assemble the 50 countries out there providing weapons to Ukraine, and we hear in real time what the Ukrainians need. In the beginning, they said we want javelins and stingers, and we delivered those. In the summer of 2022, they were talking about things like munitions and coastal defense. We responded on that front. They've shifted to air defense and long-range fires, and they've gotten those. So this is an assess and adapt process. We are in constant contact with the Ukrainians, with their military commanders. And I know that President Biden is looking forward to sitting down with President Zelensky here at the summit this week to hear what more we can do for Ukraine. So we'll hear them loud and clear. We heard them on the targeting in May. They wanted to be able to use US-provided weapons to hit targets in Russia. The president looked at the situation, said that would be allowed, made the shift, and we'll just take it in stride, meeting with them week to week, hearing what their requirements are and getting them what they need.
My understanding from my sources, there was a lot of dispute in Vilnius behind the scenes between the administration and indeed the Ukrainians as well, about almost a lack of gratitude for what was being done as well. Is there any sign of that now, or actually are we more on the same page, the West, with the Biden administration and indeed with Zelensky, about what is actually achievable rather than what he wants?
Well, we had Ukraine at the celebration last night at the Mellon Auditorium. I think they heard from everyone who spoke last night, whether it was the Secretary General or President Biden, how committed all of us are to continue to stand with Ukraine. Look, Putin started this war and he assumed that NATO allies would look away and get distracted, but that's not what's happening. And when Zelensky is here this week, he is going to feel the resolve and the unity that exists across the alliance to keep supporting Ukraine. So I think the mood here is positive. I think it's upbeat. I think NATO allies are excited to celebrate 75 years and look forward. And my impression from our friends from Ukraine is that they're happy to be here and they're happy to hear all of these concrete things that we're doing.
And yet, even Mr. Zelensky admitted last night that he has concern that politicians are obsessed in his town. Of course they are, with the November election. Everybody's on tenterhooks about what is going on with Mr. Biden, and he made a very good speech last night, but there are still concerns about the Democratic leadership as well going into that contest as well. He's right to be concerned about the future of the US commitment, isn't he, given the fact that Mr. Trump is ahead in the polls?
Well, no question that Europeans and Ukrainians are all watching our election. We've also been watching the French elections and interested to see what was happening in the United Kingdom in recent days as well. But look, this alliance has 7 decades of experience of dealing with political transitions on both sides of the Atlantic. What I see here in the United States is deep bipartisan support for this alliance by the American public, by Congress. Well, look, candidates say things on the campaign trail that sometimes don't turn out to be reality. So first, let's wait for our election and not assume any particular outcome. And then let's see whoever wins that election, what they actually do when they sit down in the Oval Office.